Chapter 1766. Principal nodded slightly, indicating for Yi-Ching Luo to speak directly. Yi-Ching Luo replied solemnly, I hope Principal can use the headquarters name to issue a warrant for Feng Ling's arrest in Nirvana Realm. Her portrait, I will pass it to you later. As long as you bring Feng Ling to the headquarters and hand her over to you, I will give you 10,000 gold coins and a bottle of high-grade medicinal pills as a reward. Principal was stunned, but his attention was placed on Yi-Ching Luo's last sentence. High-grade medicinal pills. High-grade medicinal pills. And a bottle? Even with the Overlord, there was no need to be so overbearing, right? It was hard to find a master alchemist, and even further south in Nirvana Realm. To be able to refine high-grade medicinal pills, the master alchemist must at least be a Grandmaster Alchemist or above. Grandmaster Alchemist. In the entire South Continent, probably only the Alchemist Guild was able to see it. Or those large clans who used their wealth to nurture a Grandmaster Alchemist. Even the headquarters only had one apothecary at the level of a medicine ancestor. Moreover, this Grandmaster Alchemist didn't dare to use a bottle of high-grade medicinal pills as a reward. Not enough? Yi-Ching Luo misunderstood Principal's meaning. Principal's expression kept changing. Can you tell me, how many high-grade medicinal pills do you have on you? Yi-Ching Luo finally understood the reason for Principal's astonished expression. She blinked her eyes and smiled innocently. The ghost doctor is my Shifu. Principal was stunned. Master? That ghost doctor who was known as Ghost Hand Doctor was actually Yi-Ching Luo's master? No wonder. When Yi-Ching Luo was saved by Dmo Xian, ghost doctor who hated trouble, came all the way to South Continent to treat Yi-Ching Luo. And he treated her for a total of 3 days and 3 nights. If it wasn't for his disciple, how would Ghost Doctor waste his refining time? Yi-Ching Luo could become Ghost Doctor's disciple. In terms of refining pills, she must have an extremely strong innate talent. Casually rewarding a bottle of high-grade medicinal pills indeed suited Ghost Doctor's disciple's character. If Yi-Ching Luo told Principal that she was still the champion of the Alchemist Guild's pill refining competition, he estimated that the Principal would have fainted from the stimulation of Yi-Ching Luo's abnormal innate talent. Principal's gaze towards Yi-Ching Luo was as though he was staring at his prey. He couldn't help but rejoice in his heart. From the very beginning, he had taken a fancy to this abnormal little girl. Yi-Ching Luo had goosebumps all over her body from that stare as she rubbed her arms. Principal, if you have something to say, just say it, let's not beat around the bush. Little girl, I've put out a bounty for him on your behalf. Naturally, the headquarters won't let a little girl like you pay for this reward. But the Principal's white eyebrows curved into crescents as he smiled. Little girl, since Grandpa Principal treats you so well, if you manage to refine any high-grade pills in the future, don't forget about the headquarters. Yi-Ching Luo's head was filled with black lines. No wonder he was the dean of the General Hospital. He really knew how to take advantage of the situation. But towards the 2 directors of the main courtyard, Yi-Ching Luo more or less had a favorable impression of them. Moreover, these 2 deans were sincere in their devotion to the headquarters and to the other academies. Yi-Ching Luo was willing to befriend them. One more friend meant one more helping hand. What's more, he was the famous dean of the General Academy. The dignified dean of the General Academy only knows how to scam me. Yi-Ching Luo covered her face as she buried her head into Dmo Xian's arms. I'm just a pitiful weak lady with no power or influence, so I can only be forced to agree to it. Principal and the guards. You have no power or influence, you're a weak lady. Chapter 1767. This was not the end. Yi-Ching Luo raised her head again, putting on a pitiful expression as she blinked her innocent eyes. When Feng Ling was in the headquarters exchange meet, she colluded with the dark forces to lay hands on the various academies. This was originally your headquarters' responsibility, so putting out a warrant for Feng Ling is also part of your duty. Principal Zhang's eyebrows twitched. Director has taken a fancy to a weak lady's pill refining innate talent. That request which I mentioned to Director earlier, Director can consider it properly. Yi-Ching Luo smiled charmingly. Sure enough, this lass wasn't one to suffer losses. Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes craftily and didn't continue to urge him. Instead she yawned and hung herself on Dmo Xian. The air here isn't very good, Xian, let's go back first. Dmo Xian hugged her waist and hugged her in his arms, softly saying, N. The two of them turned around and walked towards the entrance of the dungeon. Zi Qianqian panicked. Slut. Yiqing Luo. You said that as long as we told you everything about the flame lair, you'd let us go. Su Xiaolian also gripped the metal pipe tightly. Madam Yiqing Luo. Madam. I have told you everything I know. Yiqing Luo's lips curved upward slightly. Dmo Xian stopped in his tracks and turned around. The young girl in the fiery red dress had a gorgeous smile on her beautiful face. Her pink lips curled upwards, revealing a hint of bloodlust. That's right. I did say that whoever speaks the most doesn't have to go down. But I didn't say that I would let you off. Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian's faces instantly turned pale. Yiqing Luo continued to smile as she looked at Director Zheng. Next, it's Director's matter. Earlier I said the most and the most detailed one, you can change another way of death. The other one, throw it down to feed those little cuties. Coming out from the underground prison and seeing the sunlight again, Yiqing Luo raised her hand to cover her eyes. Her slender fingers were sparkling and translucent like jade under the sunlight. A few rays of light, through the gap between the fingers, sprinkled on her face. Yiqing Luo sighed softly. Xian, you really don't blame me? This time, her goal in coming to the dungeon was indeed to drag Feng Ling out. It was no coincidence that the principal had come at the right time. On her way here, she purposely passed by the principal's meeting hall. The sound of her and Dmo Xian's conversation was transmitted into the principal's ears. She deliberately revealed to the principal that Feng Ling was the one who instigated Zi Qianqian and Su Xiaolian. It was to use the name of the headquarters to put a bounty on Feng Ling's head. She was forcing Feng Ling to show herself. Her target was the tranquility bead in Feng Ling's hand. Before her abilities were sufficient to control the divine phoenix profound heart jade, she needed the heart-calming pearl to stabilize her profound heart jade. As for Feng Ling, she tried in vain to use the tranquility pearl to threaten Dmo Xian to give her the position of matriarch. Then, she would personally crush Wind Chime's support and thoughts bit by bit. How could she allow other women to covet her man? Dmo Xian's footsteps stopped. He looked down. That peerless face was reflected in Yiqing Luo's eyes at close range. That pair of peach blossom eyes that seemed to carry thousands of spring waters were filled with tenderness. Lil Luo, I've said it before. In this world, the only person I want to protect is you. For you, I'm willing to defy the heavens, no matter what. Yiqing Luo's eyes turned slightly red. That gaze filled with tenderness made her heart ripple like a pool of spring water. Chapter 1768. If possible, she really did not want to have anything to do with Feng Ling. A mere wind chime did not matter. But Feng Ling's backer was the Imperial Palace's grandma, who was considered as Dmo Xian's relative. Lil Luo, you should understand my character. Dmo Xian's gentle voice was as mellow as fine wine, making Yiqing Luo momentarily lost in thought. Dmo Xian had a panoramic view of Yiqing Luo's eyes. He raised his thin lips and smiled helplessly. You and I are the same kind of people. If we treat each other sincerely, we will repay each other sincerely. But if we are enemies, we will not show any mercy. His hand closed over the small hand that was caressing his cheek. I am indeed indebted to Grandma, but after so many years, I have already repaid what I should. Furthermore, her kindness to me was only because she was using me. Or perhaps, Feng Ling's feelings for me were not sincere. Since she took the initiative to sever the ties between us, I will fulfill her wish. Dmo Xian's voice was very gentle. This was his unique gentleness towards Yiqing Luo. But when it came to his grandmother, he didn't have the slightest bit of emotion. He didn't feel the slightest bit of regret. All this time, He had been living in an emotionless palace. It was also because of this that he had no feelings for the imperial palace's granny. Indeed, they were of the same kind. He was once in that world. The old men of the Yi clan had been by her side since she was a child, teaching and training her. Gave her all the survival skills. He should be her benefactor or relative who had raised her. But when they died, she didn't feel sad at all. Even at the end, when he jumped off the plane. What she wanted was to perish together with those old men. Yiqing Luo raised her head as her hands hooked around his neck. A warm smile appeared on her face. Ah, Xian, I'll be with you from now on. She was very glad that she was fortunate enough to come to this other world after thinking that she would die for sure. He got to know brothers worthy of deep friendship. She now had the kinship she had never dreamed of. She had also met a man whom she had fallen in love with. She thanked the heavens for letting her come to this world. Dmo Xian lowered his head and kissed her lips. The warm and sweet atmosphere rose between the two of them. Like honey, even the air had become sweet. The speed at which the headquarters handled matters was extremely fast. In just 2 hours, the headquarters had already copied thousands, tens of thousands of portraits based on the portraits which Yiqing Luo had provided. In the name of the headquarters, they issued an arrest warrant for Feng Ling to the Nirvana realm. The people in the continents were so angry that they gritted their teeth. They wanted to drag wind chimes out and beat her up to vent their anger. It was only an afternoon and an evening. The news of wind chimes being the mastermind who framed the academies and worked with the forces of darkness spread through Nirvana world. It had almost reached the point where everyone knew about it. Whereas on the other side, Yiqing Luo was holding onto the wanted poster in her hands as she smiled complacently. Looking at her sneaky smile, the devil class's students all hugged their arms tightly, rubbing their hands together. Fortunately, this was their boss, not their enemy. It was a way to deal with a rival in love. It was simply explosive. The female students, on the other hand, had looks of admiration on their faces, as if they were looking at their idol. They all expressed that when dealing with a love rival, one must make the love rival beg for death. Everyone's here. Suddenly, a gentle voice was heard from the door. Shi Shanglan was dressed in a brown luxurious robe as he walked in from the Skyward Dormitory's door. Chapter 1769. Shi Shanglan. Why was he here? Yiqing Luo's eyes sunk as a deep meaning flashed past her eyes. She had not forgotten that in the Dark Forces' main camp, she saw Shi Shanglan and the Dark Forces' holy technique, Pharaoh, chatting happily. Those people who were high up in the Dark Forces. They were extremely respectful towards Shi Shanglan. Thinking back to the Imperial Palace's investigation on Shi Shanglan, it was so clean and pure. Yiqing Luo suspected that this Shi Shanglan's identity was not simple. Moreover, the force behind him was not as simple as Shi family. Or perhaps he was not the real Shi Shanglan. This thought flashed past her mind. Yiqing Luo's gaze instinctively looked towards Yan Shaoyi. Yan Shaoyi didn't have any change in her emotions towards Shi Shanglan's arrival. Her head was lowered, and her hair covered half of her face, making it impossible to see her expression. She seemed to be in her own world, deep in thought. It was until Shi Shanglan walked to her side when Yan Shaoyi suddenly raised her beautiful eyes. You. Yan Shaoyi frowned as she looked unhappy. What are you here for again? Towards Yan Shaoyi's indifferent attitude, Shi Shanglan wasn't angry at all. He was still as gentle as jade as he put on an amiable smile and spoke warmly. Shaoyi, I know you don't want to see me, but I miss you. The gentle tone, the tender words, made the female students of the devil class cup their faces with both hands, extremely envious. Eating the overlord and Madame Qing Luo's dog food every day, they were about to be abused to tears. Now another pair came. Ow ow ow. They also wanted to have such a gentle fiancé and wanted a fiancé who loved them so much. The female students clenched their fists as their faces were filled with envy and jealousy. They also wanted to find a fiancé. They also wanted to show off. They also wanted to give out dog food every day. Give out dog food, give out dog food. This came from the single dog's resentment. However, the female student's envious gazes didn't change Yan Xiaoyi's emotions at all. Her delicate face was devoid of any expression. She raised her eyes and fixed her gaze on Shi Shanglan as her voice was calm. Shi Shanglan, the person who is engaged to you is Miss Yan, not me. You are Yan family's eldest young Mississippi, Shi Shanglan replied gently. I'm not. Yan Xiaoyi's lips curled into a sneer. I'm devil class's Yan Xiaoyi, the world group's Yan Xiaoyi, but I have no relations with the Yan family. After a pause, her smile deepened, but there was no trace of a smile in her eyes. The Yan family has arranged an engagement with you. Just go find the Yan family and stop harassing me. Otherwise, don't blame my brothers for being merciless. Shi Shanglan's gentle eyes darkened as he looked at Yan Xiaoyi's stubborn and cold expression. It disappeared in a flash, so fast that no one could catch it. Yiqing Luo had been staring at Shi Shanglan and naturally saw this strange look in his eyes. Her heart tightened as she immediately stood up and flashed towards Yan Xiaoyi. She had a petite body, but her aura was majestic. Yan Xiaoyi was completely blocked. Shi Shanglan frowned slightly. Young Master Shi, I didn't hear Xiaoyi. Yiqing Luo had yet to finish her words. Shi Shanglan quickly regained his composure as he interrupted Yiqing Luo's words gently and politely. Qing Luo, I'm here specially to look for you. Yiqing Luo's words were suppressed back. She frowned, looking for me? Chapter 1770. Sky returning primordial serene grass. Yiqing Luo's eyes lit up. She had seen the name of this herb in 100-pill refining. Her soul consciousness moved and information regarding the sky returning primordial serene grass immediately appeared in her mind. This herb was one stalk of 1,000 years and was extremely precious. If this herb was mixed with other precious herbs to refine into pills, it could raise a cultivator's cultivation. If the alchemist's level was high, the medicinal herb that was mixed would be extremely precious. It could totally raise a cultivator's level by 1 grade after consuming it. Even though this sky-returning primordial serene grass was just a stalk of herb, it was also something that numerous cultivators had dreamt of. But what made Yiqing Luo interested was this sky-returning primordial serene grass was not only for cultivators to consume. To the magical beasts, it was also a good medicine. Basically all the cultivators would not bear to feed the advanced profound grade herb to the magical beasts. But Yiqing Luo was interested in this stalk of precious herb because of her 2 slumbering sacred beasts. Ever since the dark forces returned, Qi and Qi Yan had been in deep sleep. Old Man Sung said that they were in the midst of evolution. When they awaken, the sacred beasts' abilities would be upgraded. If they had the sky returning primordial serene grass, it would speed up the advancement of the 2 sacred beasts. If those cultivators who were interested in the sky returning primordial serene grass knew that Yiqing Luo wanted to feed such a precious herb to the magical beasts, they would probably vomit blood and shout that it was a waste of God's gift. Qing Luo is an alchemist, so you must be extremely interested in this one stalk of 1,000 years medicinal herb. I specially came here to tell you this news. Shi Shanglan saw Yiqing Luo's bewitching eyes and a dark glint flashed past his eyes. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Thank you, young Master Shi, for specially making a trip here. I will definitely be there for the auction tomorrow. Shi Shanglan took out 4 gold inlaid invitations and passed it to Yiqing Luo with both hands. Only Treasure Pavilion's invitations are allowed to enter the Treasure Pavilion's auction held once every 3 months. I can only help you get 4 invitations. Saying that, he lowered his eyelids guiltily. I hope Qing Luo doesn't mind. Yiqing Luo took the invitations and squinted her eyes, sizing up the man in front of her. His guilty look indeed made one unable to bear it. If he didn't know that Shi Shanglan's identity wasn't simple, she was probably about to be fooled by Shi Shanglan's acting skills. Young Master Shi must have put in a lot of effort for these 4 invitations, so why would I despise young Master Shi's good intentions? Yiqing Luo said smilingly. Those who were on the right path should have received some benefits by now and would put in a few good words for him and Yan Xiaoyi. But unfortunately, Yi Qing Luo didn't mention a single word about what Yan Xiaoyi said. As though Shi Shanglan had worked hard to get these 4 invitation cards, was on account of her, Yi Qing Luo's face. Before Shi Shanglan's identity was unclear and his motive was unclear, how could Yi Qing Luo possibly push Yan Xiaoyi out? Yan Xiaoyi's words just now were already so obvious. But Shi Shanglan pretended not to hear it. Instead, when she spoke up for Yan Xiaoyi, she used the auction house incident to change the topic. It seemed like Shi Shanglan was still persistent towards Yan Xiaoyi. But behind this stubbornness, what kind of conspiracy was this? For this point, Yi Qing Luo could only investigate in secret. Qing Luo, tomorrow. Can you count Xiaoyi in? Shi Shanglan saw Yi Qing Luo intentionally acting dumb, so he could only bring it up himself. He suppressed his voice, as though he was afraid that Yan Xiaoyi would get angry. Chapter 1771. Shi Shanglan's gentle face surfaced a thin shade of red. Shi Shanglan was already in his 20s and according to his current status, every single woman around him had at least touched a woman in the past. Now that he revealed an innocent young man's expression, it totally didn't have that kind of pretentious feeling. On the contrary, it made one's heart palpitate wildly. This was indeed a kind of strange charisma. Yi Qing Luo concealed the deep meaning in her eyes as she smiled sweetly. If Xiaoyi is willing to go, I will naturally bring her along. Her underlying meaning was also hinting at Yan Xiaoyi's rejection towards him. However, Shi Shanglan was prepared to play dumb till the end. His eyes shone as he replied joyfully, Xiaoyi will definitely be willing. Saying that, he cupped his fists towards the surrounding devil class students as he spoke gently, my invitation has already been sent, so I won't disturb you all any further. Young Master Shi, it's already noon, why not stay for lunch? We haven't seen each other for a long time, young Master Shi, don't be in a hurry to leave. Young Master Shi, the few moves that you taught us previously, haven't been taught the next few moves. After lunch, can you guide us again? Devil class's students saw that he was about to leave and all of them went forward reluctantly. Their faces were filled with pleading and unwillingness as they tugged at Shi Shanglan's sleeves. Yi Qing Luo's lips twitched as she watched. Once again, she expressed her admiration towards that ghost doctor Shi Shanglan's charisma. Wasn't it just because they stayed in the Shi family's courtyard for a period of time? How did their relationship develop to that of brothers? Recalling the time when they left the Shi family's courtyard, devil class's students seemed to be a little distant towards her. Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped. Surely it couldn't be. Shi Shanglan had been brainwashing the devil class's students. Shi Shanglan was tugged by the students as he looked towards Yi Qing Luo helplessly, as though he was asking for her opinion. Yi Qing Luo maintained her sweet smile as her peripheral vision shot towards Yan Xiaoyi's direction. Before she could reply, devil class's student said, Goddess Xiaoyi, young Master Shi specially sent an invitation to Boss Qing Luo because of you, you should at least thank young Master Shi. One of them spoke up, and the other female students immediately chimed in. That's right, Goddess Xiaoyi. Young Master Shi's power isn't limited to the South Waves continent, but he still went to great lengths to obtain 4 invitations for you. How romantic and touching. There were also many female students who clasped their hands together in front of their chests, a look of yearning on their faces. Xiaoyi, just say something and ask young Master Shi to stay for lunch. Following that, the male students also joined in the lobbying. Dozens of students surrounded Shi Shanglan and Yan Xiaoyi. The entire Tian residence became extremely lively. Yi Qing Luo looked at the scene which had already gone out of control, and in the depths of her charming eyes, there were some hidden rays of darkness. She had underestimated Shi Shanglan's influence on the students of devil class. When the students of the devil class were in high spirits, if they were to go against their wishes, it would instead arouse the dissatisfaction of this group of students. Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips as her gaze shot towards Xiao Jin, who was standing outside the crowd, quietly watching the chaotic scene in front of him. He leaned against a tree and crossed his arms. His expression was calm and indifferent, as though the scene in front of him had nothing to do with him at all. If it wasn't for the forbearance and grief in his eyes, Yiqing Luo would have thought that Xiao Jin really had no feelings towards Yan Shaoyi. He obviously knew that Yan Shaoyi didn't like Shi Shanglan. Chapter 1772. Yiqing Luo couldn't understand why Xiao Jin liked Yan Shaoyi so much. After waiting for some time, Xiao Jin didn't take any action. Those devil class students who were surrounding Shi Shanglan and Yan Shaoyi started to lead the tempo with great enthusiasm. Seeing the flash of complacency in Shi Shanglan's eyes, Yiqing Luo didn't want to wait any longer. She only had one thought now: other than her Xian, all the other men were unreliable. You all. She hadn't even shouted the word enough out. An even more explosive voice was heard: if you want to eat, go eat with him. Yan Shaoyi's face was as cold as ice as she waved her arm. A burst of invisible profound qi was released from her body. The profound qi opened a path for the devil class students. Yan Shaoyi walked straight ahead. The devil class students crowded around her too tightly. Yan Shaoyi's push made the group of students fall onto the ground one after another. Shaoyi. Shaoyi, don't go. Shi Shanglan looked at Yan Shaoyi's departing figure as he anxiously chased after her. But the students behind him fell onto the ground one by one, and he revealed a guilty look as he turned back to help those students up. Are you all right? Did you fall anywhere? Shi Shanglan's concerned voice was as gentle as the spring breeze. His expression was filled with concern. Don't blame Shaoyi, she's in a bad mood today and I've been pestering her, it's all my fault. Young Master Shi, how could this be your fault? Young Master Shi, don't blame yourself. We all know Goddess Shaoyi's character. She's just shy. The students rubbed the areas where they fell as they shook their heads, comforting Shi Shanglan. Suddenly, the female student who fell the hardest rubbed her bruised elbow. She looked at Shi Shanglan, who was acting like a humble young master and kept apologizing. The dissatisfaction she felt for Shi Shanglan suddenly gushed out at this moment. Even if she's shy, she can't be like this. Young Master Shi likes her, but that doesn't mean she can trample on Young Master Shi's sincerity. A voice was heard. A few female students who were slightly dissatisfied looked at each other in dismay. I also feel the same way. Goddess Shaoyi is just relying on Young Master Shi's liking for her. Young Master Shi had painstakingly helped boss Qing Luo to obtain 4 invitations from the treasure-gathering chambers, so it's totally not a problem for Young Master Shi to stay for a meal. Exactly. It's just a meal, don't act all high and mighty. Shi Shanglan's expression was slightly panicked. He suppressed his anger and said, we are all classmates in the same class and also brothers in the same team. You guys shouldn't say that about Shaoyi. The expression on his face gradually became serious again. No matter how Shaoyi treats me, I will gladly endure it. I hope that you will not criticize Shaoyi anymore. This was an action of protecting one's beloved. Once again, these female fans were attracted. There are also quite a number of male fans. The sweet smile on Yiqing Luo's face started to crack. At this point, she could not help but admire Shi Shanglan's methods. Every word and sentence was to protect Yan Shaoyi. But every word and sentence was purposely to erode Yan Shaoyi's position in the hearts of the devil class students. The voices of devil classes students gradually quietened down. Shi Shanglan then said apologetically, you can have your meal anytime, but I won't be staying today. After such a thing happened, devil classes students couldn't keep him any longer. One by one, they sent Shi Shanglan out of the sky lodgings. Chapter 1773. As Yan Shaoyi left in a rage, devil classes students quietly dispersed after sending Shi Shanglan off. Apparently, no one had the mood to eat lunch. The moment the word heaven left, it fell into silence once again. Yiqing Luo's gaze lightly swept past those few people who were still in the courtyard. Her vision finally stopped on Xiao Jin. She lightly curled her lips as her eyes revealed some ridicule. Are you satisfied? Throwing this sentence, Yiqing Luo had already turned around and walked towards the direction which Yan Xiaoyi had left to. Under the big tree, the man with his arms crossed slowly stood up straight. His hands fell to the sides of his body. He hung his head dejectedly, as his body emitted a thick sorrowful atmosphere. The words which Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing were about to say were stuck at the side of their mouths. The duo's vision fell onto Qiao Jin's 2 arms, on the sleeves which had already been burnt into ashes. Greenish-black bruises were deeply imprinted on his arms. The area which was burnt was the area where Qiao Jin's palms were when he crossed his arms earlier. The bruises were the traces of 5 fingers. It could be seen how much willpower he had expended, before he could endure it, to stand on the same spot without moving. Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing exchanged glances, as they saw the helplessness in each other's eyes. They obviously loved each other so deeply. Why must they torment themselves, torment the other party? Yiqing Luo followed the direction which Yan Xiaoyi left towards, as she stopped at the main courtyard's garden, beside a pond. Yan Xiaoyi stood by the side of the pond, as she stared blankly at the pond. Hearing footsteps coming from behind, she immediately turned back. On seeing Yiqing Luo, who was dressed in red, an unconcealable sense of disappointment flashed past her eyes. Yiqing Luo walked up and stood side by side with her. Not Jin Zi, disappointed? The young lady whose thoughts were seen through, her expression turned cold, as she immediately turned her face away. Why are you disappointed? No hope, no disappointment. You can lie to me, but can you lie to yourself? Yiqing Luo sighed softly. If you can lie to your own heart, then, I believe you. Yan Xiaoyi pursed her lips tightly, as she didn't reply. Yiqing Luo raised her hand, as she patted her shoulder heavily. Honestly, have you thought of changing a man to love? Yan Xiaoyi's petite body stiffened. She glanced sideways at him. What about you? Can you give up on His Majesty? I'm different from you. Yiqing Luo shook her head. He's willing to say that he loves me, and he will let me know that he loves me. Yan Xiaoyi was silent for a moment, and her gaze returned to the green pond. Are you here to feed me dog food, or to comfort me? You're the one who came up with this topic. I'm just answering you casually. Yiqing Luo put on an innocent look. Yan Xiaoyi rolled her eyes at her. Yiqing Luo followed her as she looked at the pond, which was filled with floating leaves. No matter how you and Jin Zi develop in the future, as a friend, let me give you a piece of advice. Don't use Shi Shanglan to anger Jin Zi, and don't get too close to Shi Shanglan. You noticed it too? Yan Xiaoyi raised her eyebrows and smiled bitterly. Am I very pitiful? The person I love doesn't love me, and the person who says he loves me is constantly using me. She raised her head and gazed at the clear blue sky. The corners of her eyes sparkled, as it sparkled. Perhaps, all my good luck in this lifetime has been used to get to know you, my sister. Yan Xiaoyi took a deep breath, as she tried her best to maintain the calmness in her voice. Yiqing Luo looked at Yan Xiaoyi's side profile. Chapter 1774. As it turned out, Yan Xiaoyi had long sensed it. However, this was also a matter of course. Because Yan Xiaoyi had loved. She understood the feeling of loving someone and the feeling of loving someone. Even if Shi Shanglan was acting, no matter how well he acted. Yan Xiaoyi could feel it too. Because she could not feel Shi Shanglan's heart. He clearly didn't love her, but he kept saying that he loved her. How could someone as smart as Yan Xiaoyi not notice Shi Shanglan's intentions? However, she couldn't say it out loud. Because no one would believe it. I will take care of him. Yiqing Luo stretched out both her hands as she looped them around her shoulders. Perhaps, tomorrow's auction will be able to find out his real motive. You weren't fooled by him? Yan Xiaoyi looked at her curiously. Devil classes students are being toyed with by him. I thought you would also be cheated by him. Other than the two of you, I don't trust anyone else. Yiqing Luo smiled. The Imperial Palace had investigated him. He's clean. Looks like it's very tricky. Yan Xiaoyi leaned her head on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Tomorrow's auction house, I'll go as well. Should we bring Jinzi along? Yiqing Luo hugged her. Tomorrow will definitely be a dangerous day. If he goes, I will be assured of you. Yan Xiaoyi was silent for a moment, then nodded heavily. All right. Shi Shanglan's invitation to her was definitely not an ordinary auction. For invitations, her and Dmo Xian, Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin. Dmo Xian would protect her. Xiang Xiaoyi. With Xiao Jin around, Dmo Xian didn't need to be distracted. She was becoming more and more curious about Shi Shanglan's identity. Qing Luo, do you think? If we really let it go, isn't it good for him? For me, for our team. Suddenly, the girl's dazed voice was heard from her shoulder. Yiqing Luo was stunned as she lowered her eyelids. Seeing the fear in Yan Xiaoyi's eyes, she tightened her arms and sighed. Once emotions are involved, people will become irrational. According to the current situation, if you can really let it go, I will naturally agree. She really couldn't understand Xiao Jin. Since she loved a man who would not give a response, it was better to give up as soon as possible. The longer it dragged on, the sadder and more hurtful it would be. Yan Xiaoyi's eyelashes trembled. The bewilderment and fear in her eyes became clear in an instant. Suddenly, she pushed Yiqing Luo's hand away and stood up. Not waiting for Yiqing Luo to react, Yan Xiaoyi had already fished out a silver object from her bosom. Yiqing Luo didn't see clearly what it was when Yan Xiaoyi threw the thing into the pond. Yan Xiaoyi's actions were swift and decisive. It was as if he was afraid that he would hesitate and regret it. With a flash of silver light, the item sank into the water. Yan Xiaoyi's body seemed to have been drained of all her strength in an instant as she half knelt on the ground. Tears trickled down from the corners of her eyes and fell to the ground. She lowered her head, her body trembling. The thing that Yan Xiaoyi had thrown away just now was probably a memento that Xiao Jin had given her. Yiqing Luo sighed softly as she slowly squatted down beside her, taking the crying girl into her arms. Yan Xiaoyi's emotions stabilized after an hour. Yiqing Luo comforted her in a low voice as she hugged Yan Xiaoyi, and the both of them left together. Not long after they left, a slender figure walked out from the darkness. Walking slowly, he stood at the place where Yan Xiaoyi was half kneeling earlier. A look of pain appeared on his unattractive face. He raised his eyes and his deep gaze swept past the jade-green pond water. His well-built body was tightly tensed up. He was worried about Yan Xiaoyi as he chased after her. But he saw the scene of Yan Xiaoyi throwing a silver object into the pond water. That thing. Chapter 1775. Throwing that thing away was equivalent to throwing away their past. Which also meant that Yan Xiaoyi was really going to give up the awkward relationship between them. Xiao Jin looked at the pond water for a long, long time. In his mind, the scene of Yan Xiaoyi throwing the thing into the pond water kept appearing. The usually resolute man, at this instance, trembled slightly as his eyes turned red. His heart had a dull tearing pain. He painfully shut his eyes, using all his energy to control his own emotions. But ultimately, he couldn't win against his body's uncontrollable actions. A splash sound was heard. Xiao Jin jumped into the water. He hid the pain in his pupils, as he swept his gaze across everything in the pond water. Finally, following his memory, he swam towards the place where that silvery thing fell into. Submerging into the water, like finding a needle in a haystack, he searched for the thing that Yan Xiaoyi had thrown into the pond water. The entire pond of duckweed was stained all over him. Yan Xiaoyi's giving up, wasn't it what he wanted? But why? His heart still ached, so much pain that he couldn't breathe, so much pain that he was about to suffocate. The next morning, Yiqing Luo and the disguised Dmo Xian, as well as Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi, took the invitation card and headed towards treasure-gathering chambers. As the saying goes, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will emerge victorious in every battle. Yi Qing Luo had long gotten all the information regarding treasure-gathering chambers from Tao Zi. Treasure-gathering chambers was South Continent's biggest auction house, and could be said to have monopolized the entire South Continent's rare treasures auctions. Other auction houses were totally unable to be compared to treasure-gathering chambers. Moreover, this treasure-gathering chambers, other than the two powerhouses supporting it on the surface, rumor had it that the powerhouse behind it was a mysterious large clan. This clan was mysterious. No one in Nirvana realm knew about it. Unfortunately, this mysterious clan couldn't be investigated and couldn't be offended. It was rumored that a large family from another continent wanted to create trouble at treasure-gathering chambers. Not to mention that they were chased out by treasure-gathering chambers guards. In less than half a month, that large family was exterminated. No one in the family survived. There were at least hundreds of similar examples. As time passed, treasure-gathering chambers, mysterious and powerful, started to spread in Nirvana realm. And in a short span of a few years, it had become South Continent, and even Nirvana realm's auction houses. However, this Jubao Pavilion was indeed capable. The auction was held once every 3 months, and the 10 treasures that were brought out every time would set off a wave in every continent. There were also people from other continents who had traveled thousands of miles from other continents to attend the auction. After reading all the information, Yi Qing Luo turned her head to look at the man beside her. Even though half of his handsome face was covered, his temperament was still outstanding. What kind of power is the mysterious family behind Jubao Pavilion? There's nothing about this mysterious family in Peach's information. Dmo Xian's gaze swept across the information in Yi Qing Luo's hands. If the 3,000 peach blossoms can really investigate the powerhouse behind the treasure-gathering chamber, then this so-called mysterious clan isn't considered mysterious anymore. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips. My Peach's detection ability is very strong, all right. Dmo Xian only smiled. The 4 of them arrived at the entrance of Jubao Pavilion. The auction ceremony was filled with people coming and going, and early in the morning, it was already a boiling cauldron of voices. Countless high-ranking officials and dignitaries were crowded at the entrance, waiting to enter the treasure-gathering pavilion. Outside the treasure-gathering pavilion, 2 rows of guards stood ramrod straight. A row of 10 people, each guard's profound grade was earth profound and above. No wonder it was treasure-gathering chamber, each and every one of the guards were all generous. Following that, 2 middle-aged men dressed in brocade robes walked out from treasure-gathering chamber. Their expressions were grave, extremely solemn. Chapter 1776. These 2 people were the manager and deputy manager of treasure-gathering pavilion who were in charge of checking the invitations. Their checks were extremely strict. Those high-ranking officials were used to being arrogant, and when faced with such strict checks from the 2 managers, they didn't show any signs of unhappiness, as all of them were extremely cooperative. There were many people who entered treasure-gathering pavilion, and all of them were queuing at the back, waiting to enter. Yi Qing Luo and the other 3 were not considered early, so they stood at the back of the queue in an orderly manner, waiting to be checked together with the various high-ranking officials. As they waited, there was another long queue at the back. The more people there were, the livelier it became outside treasure-gathering pavilion. There were quite a number of high-ranking officials who directly took the opportunity to build relationships with each other. There were also quite a number of families from other continents who started to flaunt their existence. The more people there were, the more mouths there were. Very quickly, there were noises coming from the queue. Plop. A heavy object fell to the ground. A person was pushed out from the group and fell on his face in a sorry state. Amidst the noise, there were a few ladies' scornful ridicule. You trash, you actually dare to participate in the auction ceremony. Do you know what place this is? The one who was pushed onto the ground was a neatly dressed young man with delicate looks. He climbed up from the ground and looked at the person who pushed him out timidly. I know this is the auction ceremony. I have an invitation. Why can't I come? Invitation? Just based on you? The lady sneered in disdain. You must have stolen this invitation. You're just a trash with no background at all. Where did you get this invitation from? What's the use of saying so much? Bring his invitation over and we'll know if it's real or fake. Another lady chimed in. When the other ladies heard that, they all nodded their heads in agreement. 4 ladies dashed out from the queue and grabbed the young man's collar as they searched for the invitation on his body. These few ladies were around 15 to 16 years old, while the young man looked like he was 16 to 17 years old. A dispute between the youngsters. The various powerhouses naturally wouldn't stir up trouble. They just treated it as waiting for time to watch a farce. The young man struggled frantically. "What are you doing?" "Of course my invitation is real, let go of me." His struggles couldn't resist the 4 ladies. Not long after, a woman took out a gold inlaid invitation card from his body. The woman looked at the invitation in surprise. "This kid really has an invitation? Open it and see if it's his name." Another woman snatched it and opened it. A few heads leaned forward and saw the name on the invitation. Their expressions were a little strange. "He's just a piece of trash. How could he have an invitation? This is an imitation, right?" "That's right, this must be a fake invitation that the little trash made to sneak into the auction." The 4 women looked at each other and smiled, seeing the disdain in each other's eyes. Suddenly, the woman holding the invitation raised the invitation high up and took a step back. "Little trash, you actually dared to use a fake invitation to deceive the treasure-gathering pavilion. Tear up the invitation. Let's see how he's going to lie now." A few girls teased each other, huddled together, and began to tear apart the gold inlaid invitation. Seeing this, the young man hurriedly rushed forward. "It's true. This is a real invitation. You can't tear it, you can't tear it." But just as he rushed forward, the 4 women lifted their legs and sent him flying. The young man was so anxious that his forehead was full of sweat. He rushed forward and wanted to snatch it again. However, those women seemed to be playing with puppies. Chapter 1777. The invitation card was raised up high. The young man's eyes were red and filled with panic as he stared at that invitation card without blinking. The ladies laughed together as they pointed at the young man and ridiculed him. "Little waste, even if you brought the invitation card into the treasure pavilion, you don't have any money to bid for it. I'm doing this for your own good, in order not to let you throw the Alchemist Guild's face." The lady laughed loudly as she tugged at that invitation card, preparing to release her profound chi to destroy the invitation card. Suddenly, the lady's wrist, which was using her profound chi, was struck by a sharp pain. Following that, the invitation card in the lady's hand was swept away by a hurricane. The invitation followed the hurricane and landed on a palm that was as fair as jade. "Which blind thing dares to snatch my invitation card?" The lady's face flushed red from anger when her invitation card was snatched away as she turned her head and stared at the person who snatched the invitation card. When the lady's vision fell onto the person who opened the invitation card and looked at it leisurely, their expressions changed drastically. "Yi-Ching Luo. It's you. It's you." A lady covered her mouth as her eyes widened as she looked at Yi-Ching Luo. Hearing this name, the other ladies all looked over. Immediately, their faces turned pale. And the young man who was kicked on the ground raised his head abruptly when he heard this name. A sliver of joy appeared in his eyes. "Miss Yi, you. Why are you here too?" The young lady was dressed in a fiery red robe, peerlessly beautiful. Her devastatingly beautiful face made everyone's gazes congeal on her. Her sweet smile could charm all living beings. She was talking about this red-robed young lady. Yi-Ching Luo waved the invitation card in her hand. "Bai Ming Che, do you want it?" The young man's eyes widened. Yes. This young man was the one whom Yi-Ching Luo and the Mu brothers met when they headed to the Alchemist Guild to take part in the Alchemist Guild's competition, Bai Ming Che. Yes, those 4 women were the ones who broke her stone table in the Alchemist Union's competition and spread rumors that she had used her body to seduce the Alchemist Union's young master in an attempt to win first place. Ever since the Alchemist Guild, she had almost thrown these few people to the back of her mind. She had not expected to meet them in the South Continent. These people were still as arrogant as ever. "If you want, use them to exchange." Yi-Ching Luo's lips curled upwards as she raised her eyebrows with a smile which didn't look like a smile. They was obviously referring to these 4 women. Bai Ming-che's expression changed. How can I take it? Use your hands. Yi-Ching Luo held the invitation between 2 fingers. Of course, if you don't want this invitation, then you can turn around and leave. I want. Of course I want it. Bai Ming-che said hurriedly, his handsome face full of anxiety and uneasiness. But how can I? He looked at the 4 fiendish women and was so anxious that he was about to cry. How was it possible for him to get the invitations from these 4 women? If he had this ability, he wouldn't have been bullied by these 4 women. Yi-Ching Luo shrugged her shoulders. If martial arts don't work, then poison. Anyway, as long as no one dies, we can play however we want. Poison? Bai Ming-che was startled. Her clear and pure eyes blinked. That's right. He couldn't defeat these 4 women, but he was an expert in refining pills. His alchemy innate talent was much stronger than these 4 women. As long as he knew his limits and didn't kill them, wouldn't he be able to solve the problem by poisoning them? Chapter 1778. The 4 ladies' faces sunk as they pointed at Yi-Ching Luo and started scolding her. Slut. What did you say? You hit me and still dare to let this little waste poison us? Do you believe that I will not let you see tomorrow's sun? Relying on the fact that they had the advantage in numbers, the 4 women were not afraid at all. This Yi-Ching Luo had indeed shone brightly in the Alchemist Guild. But that was only limited to alchemy talent. Generally speaking, alchemists needed a lot of time to research and practice before they could raise the success rate of alchemy step by step. Because of this, those talented alchemists would absolutely not spend time to cultivate profound qi. Moreover, their family members were rushing over to the treasure-gathering pavilion. The other 2 ladies pointed at Bai Ming-che. Little waste, if you dare to touch us, don't think that just because you become a disciple of the Alchemist Guild, our Zhao family won't dare to touch you. My Qian family too. And my Sun family. My Li family. Zhao and Li family were both in the South Continent and were considered as famous and influential families. There were also a few genius profound practitioners who were famous in the Jianghu, and they were doing quite well in the Jianghu. Whereas the Qian family was a large family in the North Continent. Sun family was a large family in the East Continent, and it was rumored that they were related to the royal family. These 4 families, which were neither too big nor too small, had been connected by marriage for generations. Because of this, the 4 young ladies from the 4 families often mingled together and acted in collusion. Based on the status of their 4 families, if one of them mingled outside, she might flip the car. But the 4 of them represented the 4 families and mingled together. This car would not flip no matter what. The crowd of onlookers were all famous and influential people from various continents. They also understood why these 4 ladies dared to bully a young man in such an arrogant manner. After all, his background was strong. Luckily they didn't speak up for that young man earlier. Otherwise it would be troublesome if they got involved with the 4 families. They weren't afraid of trouble. It was mainly because they didn't want to stir up trouble. Everyone's gazes looked towards Yi-Ching Luo, who had stepped out to stop them. This young lady, she must have gotten into trouble. Bai Ming-che, however, completely ignored the 4 girls who were proudly announcing their family background. He stared at Yi-Ching Luo as his eyes sparkled. Miss Yi, is what you said true? Then I'll do it, okay? And, don't worry and do it boldly. If anything happens, I will take responsibility. Yi-Ching Luo waved her hand generously. The 2 of them completely ignored the group of 4 who were so proud of themselves. Zhao, Qian, Sun, and Li froze on the corner of their lips. You too. This lady will definitely teach you a lesson. However, their clamoring simply couldn't stop Bai Ming-che's approaching footsteps. Miss Sun stared at Bai Ming-che's hand. You are a disciple of the Alchemy Union. If you poison innocent people, you will be violating the Alchemy Union's rules. The other 3 ladies nodded in agreement. Yes. You can't poison it or else you'll be kicked out of the Alchemy Union. The few of them had racked their brains to enter the Alchemy Union. That was why they had participated in the Alchemy Union's competition. They more or less knew about the Alchemist Union's membership. The reason why these four ladies were afraid was because their alchemy innate talent was indeed not as strong as Bai Ming-che. If Bai Ming-che really poisoned them. Chapter 1779. Innocent people? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile. Bai Ming-che, are they innocent people? Bai Ming-che shook his head, snatching his invitation and hitting him. They were not innocent at all. Then it's not considered as violating the union. Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Even if it is, you can rest assured that I can protect you. Her brother was the young chief of the Alchemist Guild. It was more than enough to protect Bai Ming-che. You slut. Miss Li couldn't bear it any longer as she released her profound chi and rushed towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Bai Ming-che, that little waste, was stupid and slow-witted. If it wasn't for this slut's instigation, how would Bai Ming-che think of poisoning them? First settle this little slut, then settle Bai Ming-che. When Miss Sun saw this, she quickly coordinated with Miss Li and attacked Yiqing Luo's direction. Profound chi was released and a ray of profound chi struck straight towards her. Only 16 years old, mystic profound 4th grade. Not a strong innate talent, but not bad either. She was used to fighting against experts. Meeting this kind of low-level shrimp, Yiqing Luo had no intention to fight at all. Yiqing Luo gave a yawn as she lazily evaded the duo's attack. Then, he raised his leg and stomped on their chests. With a bang, the two flew out and fell heavily onto the ground. Ah, pain, pain, pain. Slut. Do you know who I am? Do you know who my cousin is? You. How dare you hit me? Just one kick and the two rolled on the ground in pain. The remaining two girls looked at Yiqing Luo in horror. That slut had only given the two of them a kick. They couldn't even stand up from the pain. They were very clear about Miss Sun and Miss Li's ability. How could they be defeated so easily? The two of them were in shock when they suddenly felt something slapped on their backs. The two of them immediately turned their heads and saw Bai Ming-che covering the medicine bottle in his hand with a serious expression. Miss Zhao and Miss Qian's faces changed. He reached out to touch the place where Bai Ming-che had just patted. You little trash, what did you do to me? Bai Ming-che took a few steps back, raised the bottle in his hand and said proudly, don't come near me. This is a bottle of itching powder. I only sprinkled a little on your body. At most, it will only make you itch for a day or two. If you dare to come near me, I will sprinkle the entire bottle of itching powder on you. Itching powder? What the hell was that? If you drink this bottle, you will probably scratch your own skin until it festers, and only death can release you. Bai Ming-che shook the bottle in his hand to show off. Deliberately mystifying things. The two women looked at each other. They were all apothecaries. He had never heard of itching powder. It was very obvious that Bai Ming-che was afraid of violating the oath of alliance and didn't dare to poison them, so he deliberately lied to them. However, the two of them were about to attack Bai Ming-che. Suddenly, from the depths of his heart, he felt a tickling sensation. It was the kind of itching feeling that came from the bones. The profound energy in their bodies suddenly dissipated amidst this extremely unbearable itch. The two of them couldn't hold it in any longer as they desperately scratched their own skin. But no matter how they scratched, they couldn't stop the itch. On the two of them, there were streaks of blood marks. The clothes on their bodies also became messy under the crazy scratching. The two ladies from the Sun and Li family who were lying on the ground were horrified when they saw the two women. Especially when he saw the people around him pointing at the two girls. Chapter 1780. What a joke. They didn't want to be drugged with some tickling powder. Just by looking at the two ladies, they knew that it was definitely not a good feeling. They might as well faint on the ground. Bai Ming-che saw the two madly grabbing at him and stuffed the bottle into his space pocket contentedly. I didn't expect the first time I refined this kind of medicine, it's really effective. As he said, he walked towards the two madly grabbing ladies. The ladies saw him coming and were so scared that they wanted to escape. "Take out your invitations. Give me the invitation." Bai Ming-che chased after them. The two ladies were scratching their hearts. How could they outrun Bai Ming-che? After Bai Ming-che caught up, he searched for the invitation on their bodies. But after searching for half a day, he didn't find any invitation on them. I didn't, we don't have any invitation, we just followed along to join in the fun." Miss Zhao cried like a pear blossom in the rain. After that, Bai Ming-che went over to the two ladies. The two who pretended to faint were not willing to let a man touch them so wantonly. They immediately woke up from the shock. But the result was the same, they didn't have any invitation on them. The crowd was in an uproar. It turned out that these four ladies didn't have any invitation on their own. Seeing that Bai Ming-che had an invitation, they purposely came to find trouble. Zhao, Qian, Sun and Li cried until their eyes were hazy, as they huddled together. Bai Ming-che didn't get an invitation and his face was full of distress. "Bai Ming-che, come over here." Suddenly, Yiqing Luo spoke. Bai Ming-che immediately went up to her. "Miss Yi. Here, your invitation." Yiqing Luo threw the invitation in her hand into Bai Ming-che's arms. Bai Ming-che caught the invitation and was a little confused. But I didn't get their invitation for you." "Why do I need their invitation for?" Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. Why did she feel that this young man's brain wasn't very good? Bai Ming-che blinked his eyes. "But, didn't you ask me to give you their invitation?" Yiqing Luo raised her hand and mercilessly smashed his head. "I am telling you, what is called giving you a taste of your own medicine?" Bai Ming-che frowned, a little confused. Yiqing Luo looked at this rash young man as she helplessly sighed. The only reason she had helped him was because Bai Ming-che had sincerely wanted to help her back in the alchemy guild. This young man was pure and innocent. But it was a little too silly. "Alright, it's going to be my turn soon, you go and queue up too." Yiqing Luo looked at the queue in front. There were still 10 over people left and it would be Dmo Xian's turn. Yiqing Luo waved her hand as she walked towards the direction of Dmo Xian and the others. Her body had just leaned into Dmo Xian's embrace. A sharp and cold voice came from behind her. "Little girl, don't you know the rules of Jubao Pavilion? You actually want to cut the queue so openly?" "Cutting the queue?" Yiqing Luo's brows rose. These words were obviously referring to her. Yiqing Luo turned her head and looked towards the direction where the voice came from. A plump middle-aged man dressed in a luxurious brocade robe walked over, escorted by a dozen guards. Sun family's young miss saw that man and immediately climbed up from the ground. Eldest uncle, you're finally here. Xiao, is about to be bullied till she can't face anyone." The middle-aged man glanced sideways at the disheveled Sun family's young miss and the expression on his face sunk slightly. Chapter 1781. The middle-aged man released a powerful aura. His cold and sinister eyes stared coldly at Yiqing Luo. When the people around them saw this, they couldn't help but shrink their necks and look away. Someone in the crowd recognized the middle-aged man and whispered, "Is that Prime Minister's son of the East Below continent? He actually came to participate in the auction?" "Prime Minister's son? He is the Prime Minister of the Eastern continent. I'm afraid this little girl is doomed." The people in the queue were all discussing. However, after recognizing Prime Minister's son, he did not immediately approach him to curry favor with him. These people were all shrewd people. He spent most of his time among the upper class. Naturally, he would not easily choose a side. This girl in red had a noble and elegant temperament. Every smile and frown was captivating, yet it caused others to not dare to have any profane thoughts in their hearts. Furthermore, even after knowing that the other party was Zhao Qian's granddaughter and the young miss of the four clans, he still showed no signs of fear. It could be seen that the young lady's background was not inferior to those four young ladies. He just didn't want to talk about this girl. She then turned to look at the young man who looked like an idiot. She had just heard the four young ladies say the words, "Alchemy Union." The Alchemy Union. That youth was from the Alchemy Union. Even if the monarch of the Eastern continent came, they wouldn't dare to pick a side easily. Hearing those discussions behind her, Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose as she looked at Prime Minister's son with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Oh then, Treasure Gathering Pavilion is the place for your son family to behave atrociously? You! Prime Minister's son's face was filled with rage, his face filled with dignity. Little girl, this old man is not going to argue with you. This Treasure Gathering Pavilion has its own rules. You cutting the queue is a violation of the rules. Yiqing Luo touched her chin as a crafty arc appeared in her eyes. Did I cut the queue? How come I don't know? She then covered her mouth in shock, her eyes filled with innocence. So Prime Minister's son has eyes of 1,000 miles and saw me cutting the queue from 1,000 miles away, so he specially rushed over to teach me the rules of Jubao Pavilion? Pfft! The people in the queue could not help but laugh out loud. This young lady was indeed not someone to be trifled with. It was obvious that she was mocking Prime Minister's son for trying to bully her and deliberately make things difficult for her. He was also mocking Prime Minister's son for being disrespectful. A person from the East Water continent actually came to interfere in the matters of the Treasure Gathering Pavilion. Prime Minister's son's face darkened. He strode towards Yiqing Luo with a burst of valiant pressure, pressing down on Yiqing Luo's nerves from all directions. A pair of sinister eyes, revealing a biting cold warning light. Trying to use his own aura to scare Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was all smiles as she raised her head to look at Prime Minister's son who was blowing his beard and glaring at her. That's right, Prime Minister's son. Are you here to take part in the auction? Then you have to take out your invitation first to prove that you are someone with an invitation and status. Prime Minister's son furrowed his brows as a trace of surprise flashed across his eyes. He couldn't help but feel suspicious. This little girl, who exactly was she, to think that Zhang Xian was so fearless in the face of his oppressive might? She could even tease him with a smile. Ridiculous. A guard behind Prime Minister's son scolded. Prime Minister's son is the Prime Minister of a country, so of course he has an invitation. Who do you think you are? How dare you question Prime Minister's son's status? Yiqing Luo was innocent. Your young Miss Sun is also from the Sun family, but doesn't she have an invitation as well, so why is she still here? She blinked her eyes. Chapter 1782. You're talking nonsense. I didn't. Miss Sun didn't expect Yiqing Luo to bring the topic back to her. Her eyes were red as she sobbed and held on to Prime Minister's son's hand. Eldest uncle, I really didn't. I just have never seen an auction ceremony before. Yiqing Luo added another stab. Oh? Never seen an auction ceremony and want to join in the fun? Then that Alchemist Guild's disciple knocked into your feet and flew out by himself, causing a body of injuries? Pausing, she clicked her tongue, and his invitation letter also flew into your hands by itself, then manipulated you to tear it? Yiqing Luo said it word by word, extremely clearly. Especially when she intentionally emphasized on the word himself. The people in the queue could no longer hold back their laughter when they heard Lin Fan's words. Miss Sun's face flushed red. She grabbed onto Prime Minister's son's sleeve tightly, hoping that her eldest uncle could teach Yiqing Luo a lesson on her behalf. However, when Prime Minister's son heard Alchemist Guild's disciple, his eyes sunk and the gaze he shot towards Bai Ming-che was filled with a deeper meaning. Yiqing Luo saw the change in Prime Minister's son's emotions. Her lips curled as she revealed a teasing smile. She wasn't afraid of creating trouble. South Continent, the headquarters turf. She had the headquarters vice president backing her up, so there was nothing to be afraid of. Eldest uncle. Seeing Prime Minister's son not saying a word, Miss Sun carefully called out to him. Following that, she winked at her sisters. They were all in cahoots with each other, so the other three naturally understood Miss Sun's meaning. Zhao and Xian family's young ladies were still desperately grabbing their own bodies. Prime Minister's son, this slut is simply spouting nonsense. She dares to instigate the Alchemist Guild's disciple. She totally doesn't put us, the Zhao, Qian, Sun and Li families in her eyes. Miss Li also held her chest. The person who created trouble is her. She was the one who hit us. It was that alchemist guild's disciple who poisoned us. The few young ladies all treated Prime Minister Sun as their last hope. If they couldn't get back at the grievances they had suffered today. What face did the 4 young ladies have to continue to roam the world? Prime Minister Sun narrowed his shrewd eyes. As the Prime Minister of the Eastern Continent, his every word and action represented the Eastern Continent. Naturally, he wouldn't stand up for these juniors just because of a few words. However, the red-clothed young lady before him was indeed too arrogant. He was insolent and arrogant. Most of the people in the queue were from influential families from all over the world. If he took a step back here today, in the future, the Sun family would be a joke in the pugilistic world. Prime Minister Sun couldn't afford to lose face like this. Prime Minister Sun thought to himself, thinking about how to solve this problem. Suddenly, a group of people walked out from within the treasure-gathering pavilion. The ones in the lead were a boy and a girl who were only 16 or 17 years old. Behind them were 10 guards in uniform and 2 white-haired, dignified old men. When this group of people appeared, the 2 stewards and the 20 Earth Xian guards who were examining everyone's invitation bowed respectfully to the young man and woman. Young Master Shi, Miss Shi. The appearance of these 2 young men immediately attracted the attention of many people. Many people greeted the 2 of them. Chapter 1783. This situation made Prime Minister Sun's eyes filled with joy. These 2 youngsters were simply his lucky stars. This matter was forgotten just like that, which was beneficial to Sun family. As for that young lass, they could settle it secretly. These are the 2 from Shi family, one of Treasure Pavilion's public powerhouses? Right, that's the 2 children of Shi family, elder brother Shi Ruoyu, younger sister Shi Ruoxi. I heard that in this generation of Shi family, the master only married 1 wife, leaving behind a son and a daughter, and no other heirs. Upon seeing the 2 from Shi family, almost everyone in the queue wanted to greet them. But they couldn't easily leave the position they were standing at. Otherwise they would have to queue up again. In the crowd, a tiny voice was suddenly heard. The 2 from Shi family, despite being so busy, still took the time to come over. Are you here to personally welcome Prime Minister Sun? This sentence made everyone instantly reacted. That's right. Today was the auction. As one of the public powerhouses of Treasure Pavilion, the Shi family should be busy in Treasure Pavilion. But this pair of siblings actually came to Treasure Pavilion. Apparently they had heard the servants' report and specially came to the entrance to welcome them. Of all the people present, the one with the highest status was Prime Minister Sun, who came from the East Continent. Shi family's siblings were obviously here to welcome Prime Minister Sunday. Everyone instantly forgot about the matter of Prime Minister Sun suffering a setback in front of Yiqing Luo. They all casted envious gazes towards Prime Minister Sunday. To be able to make the Shi family's siblings to welcome him personally, he must be a respectable person whom Treasure Pavilion recognized. Which meant to say, Prime Minister Sun's status in the future would also rise because of this. Prime Minister Sun was originally puzzled. He had never had any dealings with Treasure Pavilion, nor had he interacted with the Shi family. Why would the Shi family's siblings come out personally to welcome him? But in front of the various powerhouses, they were envied by everyone. Prime Minister Sun's suspicious heart slowly expanded. What everyone said seemed to make sense. He was after all the Prime Minister of East Continent. The Shi family's siblings took the initiative to express their goodwill, probably because they had their eyes on East Continent's powerhouses and wanted to befriend East Continent, so they specially fawned on him. With this in mind, Prime Minister Sun straightened his back and displayed his authority as a Prime Minister. The embarrassing situation caused by the little girl just now also disappeared in an instant. When the Shi siblings looked at Prime Minister Sun, their expressions were filled with unconcealable joy. Immediately, Shi Ruoxi released Shi Ruoyu's arm and trotted forward. Shi Ruoxi was petite and looked like a little loli. Prime Minister Sun was stunned by Shi Ruoxi's enthusiasm. but he quickly regained his senses. He extended his arms toward Shiruashi and revealed an extremely amiable smile. "She girl, slow down. Grandfather doesn't know how to." Before he could say the word run, the little girl in the scarlet dress ran past Prime Minister's son and quickly ran behind him. Prime Minister's son, everyone in the queue, what was going on? Did Miss She run so fast that she ran over her head and didn't manage to stop? Then, they saw Shiruoyu slowly walk past Prime Minister's son, who had his arms outstretched and was frozen on the spot. It was understandable that Miss She hadn't been able to stop in time. But where was young Master Shi? Just as everyone was in a daze, passing Prime Minister's son and staring at the Shi siblings, Shiruashi cried out in joy, "Sister Qing Luo, you're here too." Chapter 1784. Queuing crowd. What situation was this? Everyone had yet to digest Miss Shi's actions. Shiruoyu had already walked in front of Yi Qing Luo as he gave her a smile. "Qing Luo, I didn't expect to meet you so soon." Shiruoshi raised her head as she gave a cute smile. "I didn't dare to believe that my class's student had arrived. Luckily I dragged my brother out to confirm it." Queuing crowd. So, the Shi siblings specially came out, just to confirm, the identity of the red-robed young lady? What was the relationship between the Shi siblings and the red-robed young lady? From the looks of it, their relationship was absolutely close. Yi Qing Luo gently hugged the cute girl in her arms as her charming eyes fixed on Shiruoyu. Although she looked calm on the surface, but her heart was filled with astonishment. She had not expected that one of the powerhouses in Treasure Pavilion was actually Shiruoyu and Shiruoshi's family. When she saw the information that Peach had arranged for her, her attention was placed on the mysterious powerhouse behind Treasure Pavilion. She didn't pay too much attention to which two powerhouses were the two powerhouses on the surface. "Qing Luo, if I knew that you were interested in the auction, should have gone to the main courtyard earlier to look for you," Shiruoyu said warmly as his gaze surveyed Yi Qing Luo. "Devil class's brothers didn't come over? Why don't I prepare more invitations and send them over to the main courtyard?" Saying that, Shiruoyu turned around and was about to enter Treasure Pavilion to prepare the invitations. Yi Qing Luo hurriedly stopped him. "No need to trouble yourself, the four of us are enough. Sister Qing Luo, Sheik will bring you around. There are many things in Treasure Pavilion that sister has not seen before." Shiruoshi held Yi Qing Luo's arm tightly. Yi Qing Luo looked at the queuing crowd. Those pairs of eyes were staring straight at her. It looked like she indeed had to rely on her connections to cut the queue to enter Treasure Pavilion. If she were to stay behind to be investigated, this group of high-ranking officials and dignitaries would probably rush up. Yi Qing Luo coughed lightly. "Let's go." Shiruoshi happily held Yi Qing Luo's arm. Yi Qing Luo held Dmo Xian's arm, and along with Yan Xiaoyi and Xiao Jin, she also pulled along Bai Mingche as they cut the queue and walked into Treasure Pavilion. Yi Qing Luo suddenly thought of something when she just entered the door. She patted Shiruoshi's arm lightly, signaling her to wait for a moment. Then, she turned around, blinked her charming eyes, and put on an innocent and pure smile. She stared at the dumbfounded Prime Minister's son and said, "By the way, Prime Minister's son, for the sake of your age, I can only show you what it means to cut in line with my actions." The people in the queue couldn't help but burst into laughter. This Prime Minister's son was too much of a bully. This wasn't the East Wave continent. How could a Prime Minister of the East Wave continent dare to cause trouble in the South Wave continent? Slander Yi Qing Luo for cutting the queue? Now, someone was cutting the queue openly for you to see, and you couldn't even be angry. This was a resounding slap to the face. He thinks that he is the Prime Minister of the East Wave continent and wants to put on airs in the South Wave continent. It is understandable that the juniors are insensible and domineering, but he is already so old. Where does he get his face from? What young lady cutting the queue? From what I see, he just wants to stand up for his arrogant and despotic niece. This matter, who is right and who is wrong, we can see it clearly. It's obviously those four young ladies who are bullying others. Even if the monarch of the East Wave continent is here today, there's no way to refute it. Chapter 1785. Anyone with discerning eyes could tell who was the real big shot. Ha ha ha. Earlier Prime Minister's son really thought that the Shi siblings were here specially to welcome him. Right, he even called Miss Shi lass. He's indeed someone who mingles in the imperial court. This ability to turn hostile is really unparalleled. Just a moment ago he was still threatening that red-robed young lady, and the next moment he turned into an amiable old grandpa. Ha. I laughed my head off. His words reminded everyone of Prime Minister's son's arrogant and smug look just a moment ago. All of them couldn't help but burst out laughing. Prime Minister's son's face turned green and red from everyone's laughter. Everyone's gazes were like torches. Prime Minister's son was both ashamed and embarrassed. But he couldn't flare up at the surrounding people. At this moment, if he was enraged, it would definitely cause the crowd to rebound. He stared fiercely at the four ladies who didn't dare to say a single word as his heart was filled with extreme hatred. If it wasn't for these four juniors, how would he be so embarrassed today? That red-robed young lady. He must cut her into pieces. Right, aren't you curious about that red-robed young lady's identity? She looks like she's only 14 or 15 years old, but her aura is so strong. And she even made the Shi siblings treat her with respect, surely. She's that mysterious powerhouse's daughter behind Treasure Gathering Pavilion? That's not right. Earlier the Shi siblings seemed to have called her something. There's too many people and it's too noisy, so I didn't hear it clearly. I think they called her Qing Luo. Right. That's Qing Luo. After this sentence was said, immediately, the bustling crowd outside Treasure Gathering Pavilion fell into a dead silence. Immediately following that, it suddenly started to boil like boiling water. Qing Luo. That Heavenly Academy devil classes Yi Qing Luo? The blazing flame nest who saved the various academies, and just based on one person's ability, she killed the King of Darkness's conspiracy and informed the Imperial Palace about the Dark Forces base camp, allowing the Imperial Palace's men to exterminate the Dark Forces Yi Qing Luo? I heard that the Shi siblings are in Immerse Academy. They're also the students who followed Master Gui Wu into the blazing flame nest. Shi siblings are so friendly towards Yi Qing Luo. It should be because she saved their lives in the blazing flame nest. Right, that person must be Yi Qing Luo. The main academy's director had personally admitted that student Yi Qing Luo is their hero. Countless voices of discussion rose one after another. Everyone started to admire Yi Qing Luo even more. He despised Prime Minister's son even more. After hearing Yi Qing Luo's identity, Prime Minister's son's expression turned extremely ugly. He resisted the strange looks from the people around him and led a group of people to the back of the queue. No matter what, he couldn't miss this auction. Yi Qing Luo and the rest entered the treasure gathering chambers. The Jibao Pavilion was extremely spacious, and the auction hall could accommodate at least 20,000 people. There were also thousands of private rooms on the second floor. A place with Qing Luo around is indeed bustling. Shi Ruoyu laughed lightly. Yi Qing Luo laughed dryly. The one who stirred up trouble this time was this kid. I just saw injustice on the road, so I pulled out my sword to lend a helping hand, and at the same time, acted as a hero to save the little boy. Little boy? Bai Ming-che blinked his eyes, not understanding the meaning of this term. What I mean is a young man who is good-looking. Yi Qing Luo explained patiently, so you and young Master Shi are both little boys. But our ages are older than you. Bai Ming-che tilted his head, as he didn't understand. Chapter 1786. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo was so deflated that she couldn't refute, the few of them couldn't help but chuckle. Right at this moment, a white-browed old man in a white robe came looking for Shi Ruoyu. He seemed to have some urgent matter that required Shi Ruoyu to personally deal with. Brother, go ahead and busy yourself, Sister Qing Luo has me to accompany her. Shi Ruoyu waved her hand, apparently not intending to help in managing this auction. Shiruoyu looked helpless, but he couldn't hide the love in his eyes. He whispered to the elderly man for a while and immediately looked towards Yiqing Luo. "Qing Luo, I'll leave this mischievous sister of mine to you. Only you can control her." Yiqing Luo looked at the little girl who was glued to her as she nodded with a light smile. "Go ahead and busy yourself." Shiruoyu nodded and was about to leave. Suddenly he thought of something as he turned his head to look at Yiqing Luo. "Your brothers are all outside. Do you really not need me to invite them in?" Yiqing Luo was slightly stunned. He actually found out. That's right, among the people who were queuing up just now, from time to time, he would come out to defame Prime Minister's son, and from time to time, he would set the pace. Other than the group of students from the devil class who came to join in the fun, who else could it be? Yiqing Luo had interacted with devil class's students for such a long time, so naturally she was able to recognize their voices at the first instance. That group of youths who wished for the whole world to be in chaos really followed her philosophy of not paying with their lives. With those brothers here and Prime Minister's son outside, if he insisted on attending the auction, he was afraid he wouldn't have it easy. At the very least, Prime Minister's son's image in the eyes of the public was about to collapse. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly as she shook her head. "Just let them watch the show from the outside. The four of us have already walked in so openly through the back door. If we bring a few more brothers in, you won't be able to explain to the others." The trip to the auction house today was suggested by Shi Shanglan. It also indicated that something unexpected would happen at the auction today. The four of them were in the treasure-gathering pavilion and could escape at any time. As for the other brothers, stay outside and provide support at any time. After Shiruoyu left, Shiruoshi pulled Yiqing Luo's hand as she excitedly introduced some of the rare things in Jubao Pavilion to her. Looking at the little girl's sparkling eyes, Yiqing Luo could tell that this lass was sincere, treating her as her sister. His wife had always been dominated by a little girl. A certain venerable sovereign expressed his displeasure. With a gloomy face, he followed behind Yiqing Luo. His long and narrow peach blossom eyes stared at Yiqing Luo's back with extreme bitterness. However, his wife was so amused by the little girl that she did not notice his mood at all. Whereas for Qiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi, who were 3 steps behind Dmo Xian, the atmosphere was indescribably strange. Of course, on the surface, the atmosphere was just right. The strange feeling came from Qiao Jin's feelings. As expected of the number 1 auction house, the 4 walls are either inlaid with gold or silver. It's even more dazzling than Holy Thief's room. It's blinding. Yan Xiaoyi tugged on Qiao Jin's arm, her lively and beautiful eyes flashed with the brilliance of surprise. *tch Jin, if we take all these things back, wouldn't Holy Pirate laugh like crazy? Qiao Jin looked at the slender hand on his arm, and his eyes dimmed. Not getting a response, Yan Xiaoyi seemed to be rather annoyed as she raised her fist and punched the back of Qiao Jin's head. *ck. Slut Jin, I'm talking to you. How dare you ignore me? *tch Jin. Qiao Jin was slightly dazed. How long had it been since she called him *tch Jin? Chapter 1787. Yan Xiaoyi saw that he was still in a daze after being punched. She clenched her fists and tried hard to maintain the expression on her face, hiding the flash of pain in her eyes. After that, she grunted lightly and jogged far away from Qiao Jin. "I can't be bothered to talk to you. I'll just get a taste of being rich myself." Saying that, Yan Xiaoyi hastened her footsteps as she walked past Yiqing Luo, squeezing through the crowd in front. "Xiaoyi." Yiqing Luo's brows creased as she immediately called out. However, Yan Xiaoyi seemed to not have heard her voice as she blended into the crowd and disappeared. "Jin Zi, what's going on? Haven't I asked you to follow her properly?" Yiqing Luo's expression sunk as she turned her head towards Qiao Jin. But he saw Qiao Jin standing rooted to the ground, his eyes staring blankly in the direction that Yan Xiaoyi had left. Yiqing Luo was filled with reprimands, but after seeing Qiao Jin's expression, she couldn't say anything at all. She pursed her lips and let go of Shiruashi's hand. She approached Xiao Jin and whispered in his ear, "It's not safe here. If you don't want anything to happen to Xiao Yi, you'd better follow her closely." Pausing, Yiqing Luo's eyes were tainted with a thin layer of ice. "No matter what you treat Xiao Yi as, I only hope that you protect her well." Xiao Jin's body stiffened as he abruptly shifted his line of sight, meeting Yiqing Luo's eyes. Yiqing Luo didn't say another word as she directly turned around and returned to Shiruashi's side. Together with Shiruashi, they continued their journey forward. Dmo Xian didn't even bother to look over as his gaze was all on Yiqing Luo. The three of them had already gone far away. Xiao Jin was still in a daze as he stared at the direction where Yan Xiaoyi had disappeared. An intense dull pain assaulted his heart. It was as if a sharp blade had pierced his heart. His heart was ruthlessly cut into pieces. Slut Jin, in his mind, Yan Xiaoyi's voice reverberated. Again and again, pounding against his heart. Xiao Jin clenched his fists tightly, his body also tensed up. Ever since he saw Yan Xiaoyi today, he felt that it was extremely strange. Now, he finally understood where the strange feeling came from. When Yan Xiaoyi saw him, she was no longer cold, no longer expressionless, and no longer deliberately avoiding him. On the contrary, her attitude towards him. As usual. His attitude was exactly the same as when they were still brothers. Her smile, her tone, her ridiculing tone. Everything returned to how it was in the past. Did he completely give up on the only possibility between them and chose to return to the past? This was clearly what he had been hoping for. But when he realized this, his heart ached even more than yesterday when he saw her throw something that belonged to them by the pool. "It's not peaceful here today. I only hope that you can protect her." Yiqing Luo's deep and solemn voice surfaced in his mind again. Xiao Jin's eyes suddenly turned cold. That's right. Today, the treasure-gathering pavilion was destined to not be peaceful. He couldn't let Yan Xiaoyi leave alone. He had to protect Yan Xiaoyi. Xiao Jin took a deep breath and forcefully suppressed the piercing pain in his heart as he swiftly charged into the crowd, searching for Yan Xiaoyi's figure. Yiqing Luo followed Shiruashi as they circled around some of the places in Jubao Pavilion which were meant for people to admire. Other than the storage of treasures and some private areas of Jubao Pavilion, they had never been there. He had basically finished touring the Jubao Pavilion. Chapter 1788. Not long after, about 4 hours had passed. Shiruashi had been maintaining her excited spirit and had led Yiqing Luo to wander around blindly, so her energy was severely depleted. The auction was about to start. Yiqing Luo supported Shiruashi and based on the number on the invitation card, they found their location. Shishang Lan's invitation card was for the VIP cabin on the second floor. 4 people to a cabin. Yiqing Luo entered their cabin under the guidance of the attendant. The private room faced the stage of the auction. A few strands of white gauze covered the view of their private room. There was a square mahogany table with exquisite desserts, delicious fruits, and fragrant green tea on it. 4 chairs, under the veil, stood side by side. Seeing that his miss had followed them into the private room, the page boy quickly brought a chair over. Shiruashi was so tired that she laid down on the chair to rest. Yiqing Luo walked to the front of the white veil and lifted it. Behind the veil was a horizontal railing that reached her waist. Looking over, one could see the entire auction hall. Even those guests in the opposite cabin who lifted the veil could see it. Yiqing Luo took a look at Shiruashi who had fallen asleep on the chair and smiled helplessly. This lass, it was only the second time they met and she was so assured of them. One must know, Shiruashi was the miss of the Shi family. If she was some evil person, to kidnap Shiruashi, then she could threaten the Shi family, threaten the treasure-gathering pavilion. Lil Luo, how much longer do you want to watch? Behind her, a sour voice was heard. Before Yiqing Luo could turn back, a scorching feeling covered her back. The man's boiling hot chest was pressed against her back. Her body was brought into Dmo Xian's arms. The both of them fell onto a chair not too far away from Shi Ruoxi. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hands in shock and hugged his neck tightly. Ah, Xian. The words had just left her mouth when the man's scorching breath covered the sky and earth. Before she could finish her words, it was forcefully swallowed back into his stomach. His kiss was extremely forceful. It was overbearing, an irresistible force. The sweet and scorching breath intertwined between their lips. Yiqing Luo's body kept quivering under his kiss and his large palms which couldn't be restrained. Her face was already dyed crimson. Her slightly opened and closed eyes were filled with a misty and seductive luster. Why did he suddenly turn blue? And he was kissing her so hard. The kiss was so green. Little she was still asleep. If she woke up and saw them like this, wouldn't they be teaching the wrong things? Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo's consciousness awoke from the dizziness of Dmo Xian's kiss. She immediately tried to struggle. But just as he moved, all of a sudden, he put more force into his lips. He fiercely sucked on her little tongue. Yiqing Luo's petite body shuddered violently as an extremely shameful voice leaked out from her mouth. Her entire person, once again fell limply into Dmo Xian's arms. He kissed Yiqing Luo until she was about to suffocate before he released her lips. Then, his hot, wet lips pressed against her neck. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled even more violently as her little hand weakly rested on his chest. Ah, Xian. Don't continue, this is treasure-gathering chambers. Although there was a veil to cover. But this veil was hazy, how much could it cover? And the outside was a boiling cauldron of voices as people came and went. Adding on to the fact that there was a little girl who could wake up anytime. This was simply too exciting. Chapter 1789. When Dmo Xian's fingers slid into her fair skin, Yiqing Luo completely went berserk. At this moment, how could she still have any romantic thoughts? She raised her fist and smashed it hard on Dmo Xian's head. Her whole body turned soft. This punch was slow and powerless. Dmo Xian easily grasped her fist. His fingers penetrated into the gaps between her fingers and intertwined with hers. However, Dmo Xian stopped the action of igniting the fire on her body. Ah, Xian, you also need to look at the occasion. Yiqing Luo blushed and stared at Dmo Xian resentfully. Dmo Xian stared straight into her eyes. His peach blossom eyes carried a pool of spring water. His charm was extremely seductive. Yiqing Luo's little heart was easily teased to the point of thumping madly. She suppressed her wildly beating heart and struggled to get out of his arms. Ah, Xian, calm down, she hadn't finished her words. Her body suddenly leaned forward. She was embraced by Dmo Xian. His arms tightly wrapped around her waist. The man pillowed on her shoulder and his low, husky voice revealed his suppressed emotions. Little Luo, I am jealous. Jealous? Yiqing Luo's eyes widened. In my eyes, Shi Ruoyu is just a brat, not him. Dmo Xian raised his head, his enchanting peach blossom eyes fixed on Yiqing Luo. In his eyes, there were some indistinct grievances. Yiqing Luo felt a chill down her spine, her little hand supported his chest and pulled apart the distance between them. I am not flirting. Her sincerity towards her Ah Xian was witnessed by heaven and earth. How could she make Ah Xian jealous? And make him feel aggrieved? This style, it was totally different from her Ah Xian. I don't like your sight on other people, even women. After Dmo Xian finished this sentence, he seemed to be aware of his embarrassment and tightened his arms, hugging Yiqing Luo tightly. Yiqing Luo's widened eyes slowly contracted. A pair of charming eyes were stained with a sweet smile. So, Xian was jealous of little Shi. However, that was indeed the case. Ever since she met Xiao Shi, she had been pestered by Xiao Shi and had no chance to speak to Dmo Xian. If it was her, Dmo Xian dared to give her the cold shoulder because of his own friend. She had long flown into a rage and asked Dmo Xian to live with his friend. But he had always endured it. He followed behind her silently. It was only when Shiruashi fell asleep from exhaustion that he vented his dissatisfaction in this way. This man, she was really too cute. Yiqing Luo rubbed her head against his chest. It's my fault, I didn't consider your feelings, there won't be a next time. Her obedient attitude of admitting her mistake pleased Dmo Xian. Dmo Xian lowered his head and kissed her hard on her lips. His slender fingers held her chin. If there's a next time, I will use my own methods to make it impossible for you to take your eyes off me. His smile was incomparably devilish and seductive. His shimmering peach blossom eyes were overflowing with the warmth of spring. Yiqing Luo's heart tightened. Behind his smile, why did it make her feel? He felt a chill run down his spine. Her waist was inexplicably sore. Her legs were inexplicably weak. What kind of omen was this? Yiqing Luo's long curly eyelashes fluttered as her cheeks suddenly turned crimson red. You're flirting with me again. Suddenly, she understood what Dmo Xian meant. Chapter 1790. Dmo Xian raised his brows domineeringly. I'm flirting with my woman, there's nothing wrong with that. Alright, there's nothing wrong with that. But, Xian was gradually developing into a domineering CEO. What was going on? Or was it that in every man's heart, there was a domineering CEO? He was domineering to her, he was strong to her. He was able to make her blush. Was she unable to resist flirting? Looking at the lovely person in his arms, her face was blushing and her eyes were misty. No matter how one looked at her, her eyes were seductive. Dmo Xian's blood was surging. This look made Dmo Xian's blood boil even more. His arms tightened as he pressed the soft and delicate girl in his arms into his embrace. Yiqing Luo was half lying in Dmo Xian's arms. Feeling the scalding sensation on her stomach, how could she not know what it was? She was already dead. She blushed immediately and struggled to push Dmo Xian. Don't mess around. The auction is about to start. She struggled and rubbed against the man. This only made Dmo Xian's eyes darken. Yiqing Luo looked into that pair of peach blossom eyes which were full of affection. She only felt that if eyes could be used to do it, she would probably be done 7 or 8 times by Dmo Xian's eyes. That strong desire, Yiqing Luo could see it clearly. She was getting more and more flustered. Xian, calm down, I don't want to put on an erotic show with you here. Yiqing Luo's little heart trembled, little she is still on the side. This man was a little too jealous, wasn't he? This private room was only covered by a white veil. When the wind blew, the veil fluttered. If Dmo Xian was really here, he would definitely take her. She would really collapse. She won't wake up. Dmo Xian's hoarse voice rang in her ears. The man's heavy breathing sprayed into her ears. Extremely heavy. The elegant sandalwood fragrance revealed an aura that made one blush. Yiqing Luo's delicate body was also trembling from the heat, slightly warm. Hearing the man's firm words, Yiqing Luo suddenly understood something. She fell asleep. It's you who did it. The man raised his eyebrows in disbelief. This man had made up his mind to take the opportunity to teach her a lesson. At this moment, a deep voice suddenly came from the auction hall. Immediately, the noisy hall quietened down. Yiqing Luo raised her eyes and stared at Dmo Xian, as her fist pounded on his chest. The auction is about to start, stop fooling around. Saying that, she had already stood up from Dmo Xian's arms. This time, Dmo Xian did not stop her. The man's hand on her waist slid down. The elegant scent of sandalwood disappeared. The man's unique warmth also gradually dissipated. Yiqing Luo's heart actually felt a little empty. Her heart skipped a beat and she clenched her fists. She would not feel empty, lonely, or cold. She was not the kind of woman who could not live without a man. She must not let Dmo Xian lead her astray. Shaking off the distracting thoughts in her mind, Yiqing Luo walked briskly to the side of the veil and lifted it. She saw the tall stage in the middle of the auction hall, and the white-browed old man who was beside Shi Ruoyu earlier stood there, explaining the rules of the auction. The hall, which could accommodate more than 20,000 people, was actually filled with people. Looking at the private rooms in front, it was also full. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but sigh silently. It was indeed the #1 auction house in the southern continent. It indeed lived up to its reputation. She watched the bustling scene in high spirits. Chapter 1791. Ah Xian, look, Prime Minister's son. Yiqing Luo pointed to a private room on the opposite right as a meaningful smile surfaced in her eyes. But before she could finish her sentence, her body felt light and she was once again tightly embraced in Dmo Xian's embrace. Dmo Xian snorted lightly. What are you looking at him for? He's just an old man, what's there to look at? Yiqing Luo laughed into a ball in his arms. Don't tell me you're jealous of him too. Eat. Dmo Xian's answer was very straightforward, as though it was a matter of course. Yiqing Luo's body leaned into his embrace. She could clearly feel the man's rising temperature. There was also a certain place that didn't show any signs of stopping. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. Her long and narrow eyes flashed with a bewitching radiance. She leaned closer to Dmo Xian. Her fragrant breath gently blew into Dmo Xian's ear. She could feel the man's body gradually stiffening. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but burst out laughing as she hooked her arm around his neck, giving a charming smile. Little Xian, bear with it first and get through the auction. After we return, you can do whatever you want. Dmo Xian's body tensed up even more. The veins on his forehead were bulging. Heavy breaths fell on Yiqing Luo's ears. It made Yiqing Luo giggle continuously. This lass was simply like a demon. Dmo Xian's eyes were scarlet red as he stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo. That gaze seemed as though it wanted to strip Yiqing Luo clean. The old man in the auction hall had reached the end of his speech. Dmo Xian's body tensed up as he hugged Yiqing Luo tightly and used her petite body to fiercely press against a certain part of him. Yiqing Luo's alluring face flushed red, but she didn't struggle any further. Dmo Xian leaned close to her ear. His voice was husky and exceptionally alluring. All right. One word and Yiqing Luo's ears were about to get pregnant. Yiqing Luo stared at him as she pushed his hand away. I'm not going to mess around with you anymore. The auction has already started. Hasn't Jin Zi found Xiao Yi yet? Jin Zi and Xiao Yi both had invitations. The name of their private room was printed on the invitation. He should have been able to find them. It had been so long, but they still hadn't come to the private room. Thinking of that man who was smiling warmly like jade, Yiqing Luo's heart surged with an ominous premonition. There's Jin Zi here, no need to worry. Dmo Xian's expression resumed his usual devilish splendor. He walked to the side of the veil and scanned the crowd below. Jin Zi has feelings for Xiao Yi. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she glanced sideways at him. Jin Zi's ability, isn't it only at Earth Profound 7th grade? I can barely protect myself, but protecting Xiao Yi is a little difficult. Dmo Xian looked ahead. The expression on his face was rather complicated. After a while, he sighed softly. He is not as simple as he seems, but I can be sure that Xiao Jin will not harm any of you. Jin Zi wasn't as simple as she thought. Indeed, she had always felt this way. He just didn't want to speculate too much about his brother. Everyone had their own secrets. A secret that he did not wish to be explored by others. However, you know Jin Zi's identity? Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she felt curious. Dmo Xian only smiled. Seeing that he didn't intend to say, Yiqing Luo couldn't be bothered to ask any further. since Dmo Xian had already said that Xiao Jin could protect Yan Xiaoyi. She believed in Dmo Xian's words. At this moment, the auction stage started to stir up the atmosphere and heat. Chapter 1792. It was a supreme being grade armor. It was rumored to be used by Sky Mystic Supremes. Wearing it, unless it was a supreme grade weapon or above, it would absolutely not be able to damage the armor at all. The first auction item was a supreme grade. Everyone instantly felt their blood boiling as they started to look forward to the 10 auction items in the baptism auction. This kind of life-saving armor had aroused the enthusiasm of many cultivators. After more than 10 rounds of bidding, it was finally won by a family with 100,000 gold coins. Following that, there were some 5th-grade medicinal pills, supreme-grade weapons. There were also some strange jades. The further it went, the more precious the auction items were. The excitement in the entire auction hall was stirred up by wave after wave. However, Yiqing Luo was drowsy looking at it. She had no interest in these things at all. In terms of medicinal pills, even if she couldn't refine them, she still had her ancestor-level master, Ghost Doctor. What medicinal pills could she not have? Weapons? Jewelry? She could casually pull out one from the profound phoenix ring and it would totally beat those auction items. Young mirage beasts? Her battle pets were either holy beasts or battle-type mirage beasts. Looking at the 20,000 over people in the hall, their cheers were earth-shattering and the excitement was surging. Yiqing Luo started to wonder. Could this group of people be hired by the treasure-gathering pavilion? Were these things worth their excitement? Also spent a lot of money to smash. If she knew it was so profitable, she would have taken out all the things in the profound phoenix ring to exchange for money. If everyone present knew what Yiqing Luo was thinking, they would probably be gnashing their teeth and scolding Yiqing Luo for being perverted. Did you think everyone was as perverted as you? Did you think everyone was as lucky as you? You could pick up divine weapons, holy beasts and experts just by walking on the road. Don't you dare to cheat too much. You still have the cheek to complain about our excitement? Time passed by minute and second. By the time it was the 7th auction item, another 4 hours had passed. Yiqing Luo stretched her waist as she turned her head to look at the drowsy Shiruashi. His gaze paused on the 2 empty chairs for a moment. Jin Zi still hasn't returned. Did something really happen? Dmo Xian wrapped his arm around her waist and nodded his head absent-mindedly. Yiqing Luo suddenly pushed his hand away and stood up. Did something really happen? Dmo Xian squinted his bewitching peach blossom eyes as he propped his chin on one hand and leaned lazily against the chair. Something's happened. Dmo Xian would never crack such a joke. But his attitude, why was he so nonchalant, as if he didn't care? This also meant that Xiao Jin and Yan Xiaoyi should be fine. But knowing that something had happened to them, even if she knew that they were fine, Yiqing Luo still couldn't help but worry. Where are they? Yiqing Luo somehow felt that she was always in control of Dmo Xian's hands. Dmo Xian reached out and grabbed her arm. Yiqing Luo's body lost its balance and fell into his arms. The man chuckled beside her ear. Lil Luo, do you really think of me as an omniscient deity? At this moment, I'm not in the mood to joke with you. Yiqing Luo was burning with anxiety as she stared at him. Dmo Xian gently caressed her hair. I indeed don't know where they are, but someone does. Who? Dmo Xian's thin lips curled upwards as his gaze turned towards a certain direction. Yiqing Luo followed his gaze and looked over. Chapter 1793. At the opposite right corner of their private room, under the floating veil, Yiqing Luo could vaguely see the person seated inside. Brown embroidered gold robe, clouds of auspicious clouds, golden edges rolling. His figure was tall and straight, his gentle jade-like face bore a gentle smile, quietly watching the auction below. Shi Shanlan. Yiqing Luo subconsciously grabbed Dmo Xian's sleeve tightly. He Did he make a move on Jin Zi and Xiao Yi? Shi Shanglan was actually in the right corner of their private room. From the angle of her private room, she really couldn't see clearly. And with the veil covering, it was impossible to notice that private room. If it wasn't for DMO Xian's detection, she probably wouldn't be able to sense who was in that private room till the end of the auction. But, from that angle, Shi Shanglan could totally see their entire private room. These 4 invitations were prepared by Shi Shanglan for them. The private room's location was also decided by Shi Shanglan. Was he trying to spy on them? His target is you. DMO Xian's meaning was that Yan Xiao Yi and Xiao Jin were currently safe. Yiqing Luo raised her head. Since he wants to deal with me, why? Specially let Xiao Yi come here? You're like a loach. He shed all pretenses to capture you, but if you run away, wouldn't there be no more chances in future? DMO Xian patted her shoulder lightly. Warm embrace, warm breath, elegant sandalwood fragrance. All of these gave Yiqing Luo a sense of security. His identity is Xiao Yi's fiancé. Using Xiao Yi's name, he invited you to treasure gathering chambers so that it wouldn't arouse your suspicions and the other brother's suspicions. Moreover, with Xiao Yi in his hands, even if they shed all pretenses, he's not afraid that you will run away. DMO Xian's voice calmly analyzed Shi Shanglan's motive. When does he intend to make a move on me? Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased. Moreover, he knows that I have you by my side, so he shouldn't dare to act rashly. So, without absolute confidence, he wouldn't dare to make a move easily. DMO Xian leaned close to her ear. Today, you must not leave my side. Yiqing Luo felt her skin itching as she shrank back and hung her head down as she grumbled. I know, I will definitely hug your thick thighs tightly. Don't just talk about it, if you leave me on your own accord, when we return. DMO Xian's voice lowered again. I will punish you. You won't be able to get off the bed. Yiqing Luo's petite body trembled, her little head leaned on his chest, shaking and swaying. You beast. I won't give you that chance. She absolutely believed it. This man would do what he said. In the opposite corner of the private room, Shi Shanglan held a cup of tea and took a sip. His gentle gaze fell onto Yiqing Luo's private room. The white veil fluttered. A man and a woman hugged each other tightly and seemed to be whispering something. After that, the girl shyly stepped into the man's embrace, as if she was acting coquettishly. From Shi Shanglan's angle, he could see the side of the man's face that had a teasing smile on it. His gentle eyes flashed past a trace of ridicule. Young master, the overlord has always been sinister and cunning, could it be? Behind the private room, an ugly and extremely sinister skinny old man opened his mouth in a low voice. Before he could finish his words, Shi Shanglan raised his hand, until the little old man's voice was heard. His thin lips rose slightly, as gentle as the wind, like the spring breeze caressing one's face. However, if one were to look closely, one would find that the smile was actually hiding an extremely cold and sinister aura. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.